How are you doing? Okay. So Monday we have this class on the introduction to New Testament. Okay, and uh, we will have continuous class from 10 a.m. to 12. Okay, normally that is what going to happen. Is your network okay, or your network is having some trouble?
I saw
Pradeep?
yours only yours red one, sir. I don't know. Mine also.
What is that? Our course name is Introduction to the New Testament. So from the name itself, this is a subject that you have to get in the first year or second in your second year, first semester itself. This is a preliminary subject that you have to have. Before you study any New Testament related subject, this is the first subject that you should have. But we are still, preparing our this one, and we are trying to connect it with the ATA also. That is why I have already taught you synoptic gospel. Then we are coming to the, so actually it should be a first New Testament introduction. Then we will teach synoptic gospels and Pauline letters, and then Acts, Revelation, like that. It should go. That is the way it should happen. But we are still adjusting our syllabus. It happens. When I was studying 5 years for my Bachelor of Divinity program, also it is the same. Our batch is the batch which has to go through lot of revisions. Every year they will revise the subjects, things. You know what happened in 5 years of study, because of this constant revision and other things, we missed Pentateuch. We never had a subject called Pentateuch. 5 years, you think, 5 years we have studied. That means 10 semesters. Still we missed out Pentateuch. Because of this constant revision, every time they will change the subject, the course, the syllabus, everything they will change every time, every year. Constantly they will change. So that affects. It has to, we cannot blame them. We cannot blame us. Sometimes it is like that. Sometime when a lot of people are working with a lot of things like this happen. Okay, but anyway, you are getting the subject. Only thing is that you are getting it a little ulta. You should be getting the subject in the first semester itself. In the in the first year, we will try to make it sure that next year onwards, this will be covered in the first 2 semesters. And again, this subject will be only available for people who study for 3 years, because others who study for 2 years, it is expected that they already have an introduction to New Testament. Okay. Okay, anyway, so our subject name is Introduction to the New Testament, and again, you should know that it is an introductory course. That means I will not be able to go very deep into each of the subjects that are there, and then explain it, read verse by verse or chapter by chapter. We will not be able to do that. So we will go into books. We will try to understand what is the overall view of each of the books, what are the major contents in each of the books, what are the theological emphasis that we have to give. Those things we will see. And again, what I believe that we are going to have is a very critical introduction to New Testament. So we are going to study Bible as a literature, not as a not as a scripture as such. Obviously, I'm not negating any fact that it is scripture or anything like that. It is scripture for us, and it is God's revelation to us about His Son Jesus Christ. Okay, there is no doubt in that. But when we study New Testament, and we have to, as theological students, we have to critically study about it. And then after that critical study, then we will come to a conclusion. That conclusion should take us that conclusion should help us to improve our faith in God, improve our works towards His expansion of God's kingdom, His kingdom in this world. That is the way the subject is, or I am trying to orient the subject. Okay, so prepare your heart and prepare your mind for such an endeavor. So there will be some critical, aspects that we say. When we say critical, it does not mean that it is going to shake your faith or it is going to throw away our faith. It means we critical means some traditional understanding we are going to question it. Okay, that's all. Very simple. Some traditional understanding about New Testament, some traditional understanding about Bible, we are going to question that, and then we are going to come up with some answers, some clarifications, and so forth and so on. Okay, so before we enter into introduction, it is necessary that we should, as we talk about syllabus. So I was talking about the objectives, what you should be able to do after once you finish this course, what all are the things that you can understand after finishing this course. Okay, we will have a very critical understanding of New Testament. We will have a deeper understanding, not so deep, because as in the title it is an introduction. I'm introducing you to the New Testament world. Okay, I'm introducing you to the New Testament world, and then that should help us to understand the Bible, especially the New Testament, in a better way. Okay, especially the New Testament in a better way. So when we discuss about the New Testament, okay, before we enter into New Testament, there is a time period that we have to put our concentration on. Okay, so in our classes, first class we are going to, in our syllabus, the first thing that we are going to discuss is the beginning stage of Christian faith. That means what? It is actually, it will draw us little bit more back, and it will tell us what was happening before the birth of Jesus, what was happening to Judaism, what was happening to the Jewish faith, and related things like that. So we are going to hear terms like intertestamental period. We are going to hear terms like Second Temple Judaism. We are going to hear terms like rabbinic literature. Okay, so what exactly am I saying? So intertestamental period is a period that is, simply speaking, that is the time between, okay, between Old Testament and New Testament. It is not New Testament, it is not Old Testament. It is a time period that is between the Old Testament and the New Testament. So we know that the Pentateuch, the the Pentateuch, the prophets, the writings. Okay, so we have the Old Testament period, a very large amount of period. You can see around 2,000 to 3,000 years of history is there in the Old Testament. Okay, so that is Old Testament. And then we have also the New Testament history, which is still going on. Okay, it is not like fully completed, but let's say the biblical New Testament history. That means it is the beginning, it is the birth, it includes the birth of Jesus. Okay, the birth of Jesus Christ, then the ministry of the disciples. Okay, ministry of the disciples, then the expansion of the church. That is the New Testament, the expansion of the church. So Acts of the Apostles tells us that history of gospel even reaching to the Roman Empire. And I always say, and as I was saying, Roman Empire was considered to be the end of the world at that particular point of time. And according to Jesus's promise, the disciples are supposed to take the gospel to the end of the world. So scholars might interpret that end of the world as Rome. End of the world means Rome. It could mean Rome. And it could mean also to the different parts of the world. Okay, the different parts of the known world. The known world during the time of Jesus was comparatively less towards the known world for us. Okay, we have much more knowledge about the world and different thing, different part of the world, different continents of the world, for us, because using our modern technologies and things like that. But during the time of Jesus, they have a very sufficient knowledge of the world, but not as much as we have today. Okay, so Jesus, when Jesus talked about the end of the world, what could be the end of the world? Probably the end of the world could be Rome, because during the time it was Rome who is ruling Jesus, and Rome was considered to be as end of the world, just like the British Empire was known as the empire which sun never sets. British Empire was known as an empire which sun never sets. Why? Because everywhere you go, in different continents of the world you go, you will see colonies of Britain. India is another colony, and they even have colonized the America and other parts of the world, Europe and other parts of the world they have colonized. So even if in London suns go down, in another part of the world where their colony, their empire, the existence of their empire is there, sun is there. So that is why British Empire is called as a, it was called as an empire where sun never sets, something like that. So Rome is considered to be an end of the world. So that prophecy is actually primarily fulfilled in the Acts of the Apostles itself, when in the beginning of the Acts of the Apostles, what Jesus says, you will be my witnesses in Judea, Samaria, and then Jesus just Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria. That Jerusalem represents the Jewish community. Okay? Judea represents the extension, and the Samaria represents the Gentile world, and to the end of the world. So end of the world. So ministry during the time of Jesus, the gospel reached to Jerusalem. Then during the time of disciples, in the beginning stage, gospel reached to different part of the Judea. That is, then again, gospel even reached to Samaria. Okay, then the main ministry of disciples fulfilling that promise in Acts 1:8, that promise reaching to the end of the world. So that also the author of the Acts of the Apostles, Luke, portrays it. when when Paul reaches to Rome, even though Paul is reaching to Rome as a prisoner, but still Paul had enough freedom to share the good news. He was in a kind of house arrest, but that did not prevent him. So he was given freedom to preach the good news, people to come and meet him, and he could work for himself, he could feed himself. So Paul reaching to the Rome and ministering there is actually a primary fulfillment of the promise that is given by Jesus to his disciples, reaching the gospel to the end of the world. So that is happening with Paul's life. Rome, Paul is reaching to Rome and sharing the good news there. But then again, Acts is not like Acts does not talk anything about Paul's death or what happened after that. It is kind of an incomplete story, and we, the present church, has to continue that story of Acts, or we are continuing that story of Acts, preaching the good news to the end of the world, to the different parts, ethna. So that's a Greek word, nations, preaching, reaching to the nations, reaching to the ethnas, different jadis. Okay, it's not just one, it's not just country, it is reaching to different jadis, jati. Okay, so we are, the present church is continuing that ministry. So that is the history of the New Testament. So we have something Old Testament history and we have something New Testament history, and the church continues it. And when you see, there is a little space here in between New Testament and Old Testament. And there is no scriptures or no writings in the canonical books in this period. So this is around 400 years. Okay, this time period between the last book of the Old Testament to the last book of the New Testament is around 400 years, and that period is normally historians or Jewish historians or other even theologians will say this is known as a dark time for dark age. Okay, it is a dark time for Jewish people. Why is it called a dark? Because this is the time period where they did not hear. Okay, this is a time period where they did not hear any voice of God. That is why we have New Testament literatures where with the John the Baptist, that voice is again coming, that God is speaking to his people. In the Old Testament, God was speaking to people through Abraham, through Moses, through the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and then coming to the minor prophets, and then even to Malachi. We have God speaking, but then suddenly God is silent for around 400 years. And that time period is called intertestamental period. That is because it is between two testaments. We have Old Testament and we also have New Testament. That is why it is called intertestamental period. And it is in this intertestamental period we normally, even though people, scholars, maybe theologians, maybe wants to talk about it as a dark age where there is no voice of God, but so many literatures were being written by different Jewish, by different types of people. So many literatures, but unfortunately they are not included in the Old Testament or New Testament canon. But when you study the Catholic Bible has 7 books in addition to the Bible which we use, especially in the Old Testament. Okay, they have 7 books addition. In that 7 books, two of the books are First Maccabees and Second Maccabees. And this First Maccabees and Second Maccabees, they talk about this intertestamental history. Okay, they talk about this how Jewish people were suffering, how Jewish people were having, some people took weapon. It is kind of our Indian history, where independent soldiers, where our people, our forefathers, they were fighting for independence. How do they fight? There were people who choose the path of Gandhiji, and there were people who choose the path of who's that? Mm, uh, some other heroes who wants to take ahimsa as their method. Gandhiji choose the path of ahimsa, yeah, like Subhash Chandra Bose. They want to fight actually, but Gandhiji choose the ahimsa method. But people like Subhash Chandra Bose, they chose the himsa method. They want to kill people. Kill in the sense, it is not that they want to kill, but they want to fight for their country. They are willing to die for their country, and they are willing to kill for their country. It is just like that. So there were Jewish people who wanted to follow the ahimsa, and there were Jewish people who wanted to who took weapon into their hand, fighting for their freedom. So different people, different empires were ruling, and they were oppressing the people of Israel. And then they decide to take sword in their hand and fight for their country. So we have a lot of guerrilla wars against Rome and other empires which are there, which were controlling the Palestine during that time. They wanted to deliver these people, these guerrilla warriors like Maccabi, want to free the people of Israel from the hand of their oppressors. So in the intertestamental period, we have that history, and where you have the first, you have the history of Israel, and then Solomon is there. Solomon building the temple. The temple is the center for Israel, right? Temple is the center for Israel. So Solomon is building the very huge, beautiful temple with costing a lot of money. but then that is being destroyed by by different exiles like Babylon, and then Persia, then Syria, and a lot of oppression, lot of war. This Israelites had to go through, and then they took control. They destroyed the temple. They burned the temple. They loot the temple. And then after some time, then Ezra and other people going back to the country during the time of Persians, going back to this place, and they are trying to renew this temple. That time period is called the Second Temple Judaism. Okay, that time period of Ezra and Nehemiah and other people who are going back and building the temple is called Second Temple Judaism. That means it is the second temple that, even though they are trying to renew the Solomon's temple, because they were financially so weak, and there was nobody to support them. The second temple that they renewed was nowhere close to the original temple of Solomon. The original temple, it was so grandeur. The structure, the gold, the other stones, valuable stones that are used, like diamond and other things that are used in the temple, it was so costly. But Ezra and Nehemiah, they tried to formulate a temple, they tried to renew the temple, but it was not even close to what Solomon made. So that is why it is called a second temple. So from there, Second Temple Judaism happens. And during the time of Jesus, it was the second temple that was built by Nehemiah, and Ezra and other people was still going on during the time of Jesus. And according to the prophecy of Jesus, that second temple was again destroyed in AD 70 by the Roman empires, by the Roman emperor, by a Roman general came there, marched there, and destroyed that temple also. So that is from that time period of Ezra and Nehemiah to the time of Jesus, 270, is called the Second Temple Judaism. So the intertestamental period includes this guerrilla wars of Jewish leaders like Maccabi, to deliver the people of Israel from the bondage. They were taking the weapon and they were fighting. They were doing guerrilla wars. So certain extent they were having some victory, and there were so many internal political struggles were going on. There were fightings were going on with the chief priest. Okay, with the chief priest, within the chief priest, within that circle, lot of fights and things were going on, and it all weakened the faith of the religion of Israel, and it even weakened that people. And then within that 400 years of history, no proper voice of God is heard to the people. And then comes, when the New Testament begins, John the Baptist coming, preaching about the kingdom of God, preaching about Jesus, and then Jesus come to the field and then again start proclaiming that good news. That is why the New Testament scholars frequently quoting prophets like Isaiah, Jeremiah, even Nehemiah, Ezra, and all to prove that Jesus is that continuation of God's voice. What is happening in Jesus' life is same that is there, that was there in the Old Testament, or even what was happening in the intertestamental period. Okay, so intertestamental period, that 400 years of gap is, even though no proper record of God's voice was there, still history was happening. History was never silent. History was happening, and Jewish people were fighting for their freedom. It is in this period a very heavy nationalistic view of Messiah that is developed. Okay, it is during this intertestamental period a nationalistic view of Messiah was developed. That means what? Jewish nationalism. Nationalism means Jewish people thought they are the chosen people of God, and they are the country that is going to rule the world. They find out, they thought it is, they are God's chosen people, and they are supposed to stand as a nation. and a very nationalistic mentality for a Messiah, a promised Messiah, is largely developed during this intertestamental period. That means what? Messiah is going to come, and the Messiah is going to deliver these Jewish people from their oppression of these different kingdoms. Maybe during the time of Jesus, it is Roman Empire, so Roman slavery. They are going to be delivered by this Messiah. So this Messiah is supposed to be a person who is a big, great king, who amass, who cluster a lot of armies, soldiers to fight for him, and they fight for, and this Messiah and his army fight for delivering Jewish people. That was the concept of Messiah that was during this intertestamental period. And it is in this intertestamental period, to this kind of view, this intertestamental period kind of view, that Jesus is coming and proclaiming about a suffering Messiah. And that hit the Jewish people. That hit the Jewish leaders especially, because they were considering and waiting for a Messiah who is very powerful, who would lead an army and fight against Rome or whoever oppressing them, and give them a nation free of oppression. And this Messiah will be their ruler, their king, and rule them in peace. And it is to that kind of view Jesus is coming and proclaiming that I am the Messiah, but I am not going to go for a war. Instead, I am going to deliver my people by dying on a cross. That was a hit for the Jewish leaders. That was the first reason or foremost reason that these Jewish people somehow wanted to get rid of Jesus. Because their understanding of Messiah is not a Messiah who suffers and dies for his people, but a Messiah who is willing to kill and let other people die for him, like a king. Okay, so we have to have this proper understanding of intertestamental period and what is their point of view. And it is during this intertestamental period we see the origin of Pharisees, Sadducees, and all those people who were still in existence during the time of Jesus. And by the time of the destruction of the Jerusalem temple for the third time or for the second time in AD 70, after a few years of that destruction of the temple, this most of this people group, like Pharisees, who were very closely related to the temple, they were slowly got got eliminated, or they were no more there, because temple is no more there. So there is the nothing. People who live inside the temple, live in close uh, proximity with the temple, they were not there. They were also slowly disappeared. Okay, so that is the history that we have to understand in order, if we want to really understand, if we want to critically understand the New Testament and its beginning. Okay, so we will further see, try to see what is the New Testament world, and if possible, if possible, we will try to see some geographical information about Palestine and things like that. Okay, so uh, we have to discuss about the Persian period, the Hellenistic period, Hasmonean period, the Roman period. This they were going through the oppression of Persians, then the Greek, then the Hasmoneans, then the Roman period. So Hasmonean and all is actually not the oppression, but it is the time when the small amount of period where those Maccabees, they ruled. They got most of the power in the Palestine, and they ruled the people of Israel for some period of time. They tried to bring reforms and things like that. Okay, so then again Romans came, and Romans overturned them, and the Romans were in power during the time of Jesus. Okay, so we have to discuss a couple of things, and couple of these things will be a repetition for you, because we have already discussed some of these things when we were studying the gospel. I think it is the synoptic gospels. Okay, so Okay, what I feel is that with that kind of a small introduction to the syllabus, so like what we are going to do is that we will discuss about this New Testament world, okay, and then after that we will slowly enter into the different background studies like social, what was the social situation, socio-political and cultural situation during the time of Jesus in Palestine. We will write about that, and then we will see, we will slowly enter into the New Testament book with a little introduction to canon and other related things, canon of the New Testament, and sort of that. Then we will slowly go into different books and we will discuss about different things like authorship, those things, authorship, date, what's the background, those things of different books we will discuss, and we will try to discuss some of the major themes that are there in books, and we will try to critically evaluate if possible. We will study some chosen passage from each of the book. We will try to read and have a study of those passages, but it's all need, we need a time for this. We don't know how much, I don't know how much I'll be able to go through. At least 2 or 3 class I need per book. Okay, so but we have only one semester and we have 27 books to cover in that way, and then other related introduction and other things. So going in deep into the book and explaining from the book may not be necessary also for this course. It is not necessary for this course because it is an introduction to New Testament. So we have to see the overall picture of the New Testament, not put books in particular. That you will learn like Gospels. You will learn each of the, like maybe Paul and epistles you are learning or you have learned already. So we will learn subjects like that, and that will help you. But in this subject we will somehow focus on the major important content, an outline of the book, and then some of the important background related study of the book. Okay, so I will send you the syllabus and other things. I will publish it in the workspace. So today we will take only this much. We will not we will use this week and the weekend to have some learning about the intertestamental period. Intertestamental period. Search in the internet, maybe Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a good source for like a preliminary reading and understanding. Okay, so there we will have discussions on intertestamental period, what is intertestamental period, and prepare a one-page note. Okay, prepare a one-page note of your understanding of the intertestamental period. Don't just write about everything that you see, because intertestamental period, like I said, it is around 400 years of history. That is not a thing that you can do it in one page. So don't try to write everything, or it is not about what you write, but it's about how much you understood about the intertestamental period. What are the characteristics of the intertestamental period? What was happening to the Jewish people? What are the different time periods in the intertestamental period? Who were the different rulers that controlled the people of Israel during this intertestamental period? Not in the beginning time, but the intertestamental period. What is the overall history of the people of Israel till the time of Jesus? Those things you try to see and listen to some lectures maybe in YouTube, or try to read some materials from the internet, and do have a related study of such things. Okay, from the things that we have discussed, do you want to ask anything, any doubt or clarification? If you have anything, you can ask that. Otherwise we will end the class here today.
So I forgot the period. What the second temple, the age, the year.
It was second temple period was till it is time of Ezra to the time of Jesus in AD 70. It is time of Ezra or Nehemiah. So it is somewhere around 515 or 515 BCE to 70 CE. So it is the time of Judaism between the construction of the second temple in Jerusalem around 515 BCE and till the time of destruction of the temple by Romans in 70 CE. The other one is BC, 515 BC to 70 CE. So the second temple was there for around 500 to 550 or 600 years. Second temple period, second temple was there. Why is it called the second temple? Because it is not the original temple, because the original temple of Solomon was destroyed by Babylonians, and then Ezra and Nehemiah came back during the time of during the Persian rule. They were very lenient. So Ezra and Nehemiah came back and then they rebuilt the temple. Okay, the diaspora Jewish people, they came back and they rebuilt the temple, and that is why it is called the Second Temple period, or it is called the Second Temple Judaism.
Yeah. I think this is not the right time to ask this question. I think it should be asked later. I think, sir.
Anyway,
Yeah. One question is there. No, not the question that I'm going to ask is one question. One I have little not clear about this. Jesus was saying to some of his disciples or the people that some of you will not taste that until and unless these things will happen. He said once.
Yeah, Jesus said, "Some of you will die. Some of you will not die until you see some of these things happen." Yeah. What
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it?
Would you like to explain this to me later on or now?
Yeah. So actually, if you think it from a very baseline, simple perspective, it is
Uh-huh.
it is what they are going to see with Jesus's life. Okay, so some scholars would like to interpret, so this particular view of Jesus is happening after a long discourse of Jesus about what is going to happen at the end time. Okay, that is why this confusion is there. If some people are not going to die, then how are they going to see these things? So Jesus is saying you will see some of these things, including the coming of Jesus. So for them, the second coming of Jesus is like the first part has like two part. There is two part for the second coming of Jesus. And the first part is he is coming, the resurrection of Jesus. So some people during the time of Jesus, they already saw the coming of Jesus. That means the resurrection of Jesus. And then there is a final Son of Man, end time coming is also there. That is the real second coming that we are talking about. So that is why that could be one of the reasons, like scholars say, there will be some people still be living who might be seeing the destruction of the temple, who might be seeing the other related calamities and the things that are happening, who will be seeing he being resurrected, the coming of Jesus. Okay, it is resurrection of Jesus means coming back from death, right? So the coming of the Jesus after his death, there will be people still be seeing. That could be the point. There is no very clear explanation, but this could be one of the few of the things that is possible that we can understand from that passage.
Okay. Actually, this question was disturbing me.
Yeah.
I not understand.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But these are, again, we should understand some of the things that Jesus say is only applicable for the people of Jesus's time. Not everything is not, some historical related things are not applicable for us. And most of these gospels, when they were written, already the temple was not there. After temple being destroyed only, at least if not Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John was written only after the destruction of the temple. So they are talking about a temple which is already not there. temple is, then we should understand temple is the center of Jewish faith. Okay, if temple is not there, they are not there. Okay, so it is from that context. So they are describing about Jesus going to the temple and all. So very well, these authors know the temple is no more there. It is destroyed by the Romans. But then they are talking about Jesus's life. While Jesus was there, the temple was still there. Okay, so they have to discuss about the temple also. That is why there is no explicit mention to the destruction of the temple. But when you read in between the lines, okay, you will very clearly see when Matthew, Luke, and all explain about certain things, they very well understand the fact that the temple is not there. That is why you see lot of synagogue meetings and things like that. When temple is there, actually there is no need for synagogue, because synagogue was created by the most probably by the Jewish people who were in Alexandria, which is a Gentile nation, and then they created the synagogue system because the Jewish people around the world every time cannot go into the temple. So synagogues are miniature forms of Jerusalem temple, where Jewish people go there and worship. They sit together, come together, they worship, they pray, they read the scripture and things like that. Okay, so the synagogue became so prevalent and so prominent only after the destruction of the temple. So, but when you read the Gospels, you can see the existence of synagogue, Jesus going to the synagogue and things like that. So that is, reading in between the lines where you will clearly understand why they have to mention about the synagogue, because synagogues were the center then. If not temple, then synagogues were the center of the Jewish faith, Jewish traditions, and Jewish meetings, and their gathering together. So Jesus might most probably talking about his death and resurrection, and then some of the maybe things related to the destruction of the temple, and then some of the calamities that is happening. Because during the time of Jesus, many calamities were reported, huge ones. Many, like earthquake type of thing. Today we say pandemic. Pandemic is a sign of God's it is sign of end time, right? In that same way, as according to the prophecy, there were a lot of calamities and earthquakes that was reported, which that people had to face. So there were instances like Jesus said, the pregnant women, they have to carry their that and run into the mountains. There were incidents happen like that already. Earthquakes were there, and there were natural calamities were there. These pregnant women had to literally run. So that is why scholars say, so Jesus' own generation, they have seen some of those calamities that have discussed there, some of those destruction that have discussed there. And they have seen the resurrection of Jesus. There is extra canonical report of these calamities that have happened. Archaeological evidences suggest that. Okay, so those things are already there. So that generation has seen, just like Jesus promised. Jesus said that generation has seen these struggles, but it is not literally the end time. But it looks like an end time. Calamities, pandemics, or like we say, pandemic. All the world is affected in the same way. All the world is affected during that time of in that time. It affected. It was huge. It's known to everyone. So it could be Jesus might be talking about those things also. And then with a larger application to the second coming we all wait for. And then Jesus also saying these are not last times, but these are the signs of the end time, right? These are the signs of the end time. So possible. Yeah. Is there anything else?
Next class I will answer.
Okay. So have a reading about the intertestamental period, okay, and have try to have some understanding about some of the terms like Maccabees and other. There are some other terms. So try to understand those things. So it will be easy for us to enter into the New Testament related things. And write a one-page report of what you have understood about the intertestamental period. Write means type. Type a one page. Okay, around 1,000 to 1,500 words it should come. Okay, it's kind of an essay that you can do. Okay, do some readings, try to download some books, find out, do the research, try to read books. When you read a book, you don't necessarily need to read everything in that book. Only thing that what you are looking for there will be that part. Read that part. That will come maybe 10 or 12 pages in a book. You don't need to entirely read that. That is called educated reading of a book. You might be looking for something. It does not mean that every time you take a book, you have to read the book from cover to cover. You don't need to do that. Books are for giving you information. So whatever information that you need to read that. Okay. If you think this reading this particular page will give you the information about the entire book, read that page. So it saves you a lot of time and you get the understanding of the entire book. And if you don't understand a book, read the reviews of that book that is available. In that way, you will have a overall perspective of what is there in that book. Then you read the book, then you will understand it more clearly. Okay, so do that. Then take this week, take the next class time also, and this week you have one whole week. It's good that you have 1 week gap in a way so that you can prepare for the next class also. Okay, Oliver. So I hope to have a very good time with you. If any way the class feels little boring or static, just tell me, because only you are there and we don't have much of conversation going on. You are the only person I am also talking to. Okay, so I don't want to like constantly disturb you or bore you with so many things, so many information. But again, we have to finish the course and we have to go it in that pace and things like that. Okay. Okay, syllabus I will post again in Workplace. You can download it and read and understand it. Okay, all the best. Take care. God bless you.